Obviously, one of the major storylines has been about Clayton Kershaw. Everybody wants to talk about him and silencing those critics. What has he proven thus far in this World Series run?
I mean, he's proven that he's a really good pitcher. We've known that. I just feel like the narrative with Clayton Kershaw, as good as he's been in this World Series, they got to win it all. I mean, Max, you and I have gone back and forth on this, and his narrative, his storyline every year, right? What happens? And this is why it's so different for Clayton, because it's not all on his shoulders. I mean, you look at tonight, it's going to be a bullpen game with Tony Gonsolin starting. If it gets to a Game 7, guess who's not throwing in that game? Clayton Kershaw. It's down to actually their ace in Walker Buehler. In my opinion, for Clayton Kershaw to put it all behind him, the narrative, everything that's happened to him in the postseason, we know he's an amazing pitcher. Watching his last two performances, yes, this is what he can do. Ridiculous slider, curveball, we get it. But this team has to win for that narrative of him struggling in the postseason to finally be done.
One thing is, Jessica, when you say narrative, and a lot of people use that as a code to say, well, that's the way it's being portrayed, when in fact, I've been making the argument. I think there may even be a winning case that during the regular season, Clayton Kershaw will go down in history as the best who ever did it during the regular season, right? There's going to be, he has a Koufax level prime for his era, but much, much, much longer, right? Consistent excellence. He has not been the same guy in these playoffs. And when you say narrative, it sounds like you're saying you think it's a little unfair. Do you think is that your opinion, or do you think he's earned the kind of reputation as being less than himself in the playoffs?
I mean, he is less than himself in the playoffs when you look at the number. I mean, the numbers are just stupid in the regular season and what he has done. And you look at the competition, you can make a bunch of arguments, regular season versus postseason, and what you're asking. What I see with Clayton Kershaw is it's that combination of front office, Dave Roberts, and how long Clayton Kershaw stayed in games. When you look at the numbers in the struggles, why the ERA goes up so high, more times than not, it's because he was left in one pitch too long, one inning too long. That's why Dave Roberts, his last start, I mean, Clayton Kershaw stood there on the mound arguing with him. Justin Turner jumped in and said, don't take him out, Dave. And what did Dave Roberts do? Said, no, come with me. You're coming to the dugout because I have made this mistake too many times. And that's where we've seen Clayton struggle the most.
Well, he's made those mistakes too many times, but I want to go back to Game 4 because you brought up Dave Roberts. That's what I wanted to talk about. I thought that having Jansen in was a mistake, obviously. We saw the two errors on the game-winning play by Tampa Bay, and I think, to me, I literally tweeted, I think they blew this series. I mean, they might lose this series because of this game right here.
That's why Clayton was so big.
That's right. Talk to me about how pivotal it is for the Dodgers to win this World Series as it pertains to manager Dave Roberts, who I like a lot, but with the money that they paid to these players and the expectations that come with it, there's no question he could be a champion or he could be without a job. Talk to me about that for a second.
Stephen A., I mean, I'm from LA. That is the front page headline every time they lose a game. Within this series, within a season, it is Dave Roberts that gets the blame. Now, is that right or wrong? I mean, you guys, I just heard you talking about Mike McCarthy and all the different, I don't even want to bring in the Cowboys, but it's more than just him. I mean, Dave Roberts, yes, he will be to blame. There's a very good chance that they don't win the World Series. I mean, you guys understand this. The pressure, the buildup, the Kirk Gibson, enough 88 uncle. Like, they want to see a new champion in LA, and how dang good. And I think now more than ever, everyone is seeing, now that Mookie Betts is on board, how good this team is. If they don't win, there has to be somebody to blame. Now, is it Dave Roberts? I don't think so. I think it's a combination of people, but we all know how it works. We all know how the business works. They're not going to fire their players. They're going to go after the manager.
No question. Jessica, before we let you go, what do you think? LA gets it done tonight?
Against Blake Snell?
I think it goes to 7. I mean,
yeah.
I feel like Blake Snell, 9 Ks. If they don't get it done tonight, I don't know if they win at all. And I get it. Walker Buehler, Game 7. But Stephen A. nailed it. That Game 4, this thing would have been over by now. That was the win. That was, they had it, and I felt it. I mean, calling it, literally. I mean, the chaos. Randy Arozarena barreling around like airs.
Me too. I got Dodgers winning tonight because I don't trust them in the Game 7. I don't trust them in the Game 7.
I think Blake Snell, who won the Cy Young a couple years ago before he had arthroscopic surgery on his elbow, Blake Snell wins tonight. He can be dominant. Clayton Kershaw, Jessica, this is setting up for him to come out of the bullpen, in a Game 7 and win this thing for the Dodgers. I want to see Clayton Kershaw out of the bullpen in Game 7 and exercise the demons.
Max, and we are going to argue this if that happens. Whatever happens, if he gets blown up and Stephen A's like, I told you, or if he comes in and finally does what he's never done and wins it himself for the Dodgers in a World Series.
I love Kershaw, but I think that, listen, we've seen enough from him. He's an MVP candidate for this World Series. Dodgers bullpen, what is 5.57 ERA? I don't trust them. Dodgers win Game 6 tonight, or they lose.
All right, we'll see. All I know is Jessica just said if the Dodgers don't win tonight, party's over. And she's from LA, so talking with her head, not her heart. All right, Jess, we'll talk to you soon, probably tomorrow. We'll see if a champion's crowned. Thanks so much.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.